Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Um, I haven't been feeling well. Actually, that's why I haven't been posting as often. But as I was sitting around thinking whether to wait until I get better or just to make a video, since I have a bunch of ideas written out on my Notion board and trying to essentially determine when to make the videos, I just decided to jump in and create a video. At the moment, I have a cold, so sorry about my voice. I have a cold and a bit of tonsillitis, but um, for the time being, I just wanted to make a very quick and short video about what I'm currently working on in as far as my psychology is concerned and keeping track of my trading and essentially keeping track of how my mind works as I am trading and such. So don't mind my MT4. I tend to trade on a virtual machine since it essentially gives me a smoother Windows experience, but don't mind that. At the moment, the thing I wanted to focus on is essentially the very aspect of keeping track of your trading and what you actually need to keep track of and how I'm experimenting with that. So I notice certain things whenever I'm trying to trade or whenever I'm actively trading, and this is in as far as keeping track of my trades, my losses, and my psychology during trading. In my previous videos, you might have noticed me shifting my focus more towards psychology and essentially making sure that my mind is on the right page and my mind is in the right status whenever I'm trading. And as a result, I realized that one of the best ways that I can keep track of what my mind is doing and what my mind is thinking is actually recording myself while trading. So I started recording myself, I believe, a week ago while trading. I would take screenshots and I would also actively record my screen, and I would place all those recordings and videos on a specific folder, and then I would be reviewing those either at the end of the day or at the end of the week, depending on the number of things that I need to do throughout the week. And I started noticing some patterns, and I started um, essentially keeping track of these patterns and noticing them as they occur or when they occur. So, for instance, recently I noticed issues related to me being afraid of taking trades. So let me demonstrate this, I think, on the charts. I really hope you can see this chart clearly. I would notice that whenever, let's say, the market is heading lower, I would feel, and I jump on a trade. So, for instance, the market has just broken a level and I jump on this trade. I would start feeling tense because the trade really isn't aligned with how I trade. But I would instead, so I don't know how to explain this better, but essentially, assuming the market has just closed below this level, so I can see that the market is heading lower. So I know right now you have hindsight bias of seeing what happened next, but I can see that the market is heading lower. But then I don't trade breakouts, I tend to trade retracements. So I would find that I would avoid to take these trades, and if I do take them, I would be more likely to exit early compared to whenever I take a trade that quote unquote aligns with sorry, quote unquote aligns with my plan, but then it starts heading in the opposite direction. So I would find the opposite. If I take a trade, for instance, this one that is aligned with my plan, I am more than likely I am more likely to hold it even when it has already proven that I'm wrong. For instance, if the market would have started heading higher at this point, as opposed to holding a trade that the market has showed me where it's going and it starts going in my direction. Like I would enter based on where the market is going and I would keep jumping on it. Of course, this is a half baked idea. I haven't yet fully fleshed it out, but it's something that I noticed in my recordings. So that's one thing, a benefit that I noticed related to essentially recording myself while trading. Something else I noticed is that whenever I actively record my screen, as I am doing right now and talking, I noticed that if I would be recording my screen and I'm taking this trade, I felt the need to explain why I'm taking a specific trade. And by the mere fact of me explaining, I would listen back to what I'm saying as I'm talking, and I would start to notice my mind crashing out. Basically, I was more keen and noticed whenever my mind would crash out and whenever I would start not following my plan, or rather, not following what the market is doing. So, for instance, I'd make myself I'd find myself making arguments like the market seems like it has had high enough or it has had low enough, so it's time to buy. Or the market seems like it has gone low enough, so I need to exit, yet I don't know what would happen next. Like, that's the very nature of trading. I don't know what would happen from this point onwards. And finding myself talking about these things and saying them out loud while I'm trading essentially made me more aware and attuned to what my mind was doing in these instances. So I found it very beneficial, and I'd actually recommend that you try it out. So for your trading sessions, try and see whether you would find yourself making similar mistakes, or rather performing this similar actions to the ones I'm talking about, or others. Maybe you have different problems and are facing different challenges, psychological challenges while trading. And an approach that I've found helpful is essentially talking about it while I'm trading. So you record your screen, put your microphone on, and then you talk through your trades. So you talk through your decisions, essentially bringing your subconscious mind, your subconscious fears, and your mind active, essentially in sync. You make them sync up by you talking about it, because a fear would be occurring in your in your subconscious mind, but your conscious mind is not even aware that you're making a decision based on a fear, and essentially searching for patterns, quote unquote patterns, and signs that the market is doing something that it really isn't. So that's something I would recommend. Something else I've been doing, and this is today. At times I would notice, so for instance, my kid would be playing, so I didn't really want a lot of background noise whenever I'm trading, or my kid would be asleep and I wouldn't want to essentially start talking a lot, which would essentially wake him up. So my youngest, that is. So in this at these times, I would essentially, instead of talking about it, I would take a screenshot and write the name of the screenshot with essentially what I'm feeling. And whenever I don't have a trade or the market really isn't doing something that I'm interested in at the moment, I would open these screenshots and expound on what I was thinking of at the time. The title or the name of the screenshot would essentially give me context on what I was thinking about at the moment. And at times I would be admonishing myself. I would be telling myself, you've been dumb at this point. You made a dumb decision at this point, and such. For instance, if I don't know if you can read my these names for these screenshots that I took, you'd find here I would say starting to crash out, monitor the time between 7:17 and check the start time, essentially when I started trading, and that result in this. So at this time I think I was assuming, I haven't gone through this yet because you can see they're from today, but at this time I was thinking maybe I'm crashing out because I've been watching the markets for too long. So I'm essentially assuming, because I noticed myself starting to crash out. And something else I would notice, double bottom setup failed, practicing being decisive. So the double bottom setup here failed, and then I just became decisive and closed the trade as opposed to holding on to it. Um, at a point here, I hedged. Um, as you can see, I'm essentially writing down what I'm thinking about. In certain situations, I would say considering exiting, but then question myself, since I didn't want to panicked anyway and exited. So essentially, I'm telling myself that I'm panicking. I end up panicking, but I take note of that and record it, and then later on go back to that specific situation and look at the markets. I don't really have what happened next, but I have what was happening at that time, and I would monitor. I would check out the candles. Let me open this one, for instance. I would open up the candles and think about what was happening in that specific situation that caused me to panic. Was it the larger candles compared to the previous zones? So comparing all these aspects to keep my mind in sync with my subconscious, and monitoring how I'm reacting to different prices and different patterns that are occurring in the market. That's something I would recommend, and it's something that I'm currently doing with my trading and with myself. I'm just trying to be present. Being present in as far as asking myself, what is the market doing right now? What should I be doing? And not focusing on what it would do next. I know this tends to be the focus for most traders, but I'm learning, or rather, I'm trying to teach myself that I don't need to know what will happen next to trade successfully. Rather, I need to know what is happening now and what I'll do about it. So the market might be heading lower, and I decide, okay, I'll be waiting for a double bottom or a triple bottom or a break and retest heading higher, and then I'll enter. So at that point, I've noticed that the market is heading down, but I decide I will be waiting. Another thing is that I would notice the market is heading lower and decide, okay, I need to jump in, and I jump in. If the market then reverses, I exit. That is me practicing being decisive. If the market decides to continue heading lower, I decide what to do next. Either I would add to the trade. As you can see, for instance, in this example, I kept adding to my trade as the market was heading lower, and I was finding more evidence that the market would be heading lower than that. And I would keep doing that essentially deciding what I will do at this moment, reacting to what the market is doing, as opposed to trying to predict what would happen next. I know from Okay, I'm now jumping to another topic, but essentially, you get the point. The point I wanted to make was, if you're learning to trade, you better learn how to monitor your mind, your psychology, and your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. I've noticed that in my part, they tend to do two different things. One, especially my subconscious mind, would be fearful or hopeful or feeling a lot of greed related to specific aspects that are happening in the market. And my conscious mind would need to jump in and be aware and essentially put in place guardrails that prevent me from crashing out or tweaking essentially. At this point, you would also notice, I don't know if you can read, but I'm a developer, so I tend to write these scripts and helpers that essentially help me trade faster. So for instance, at this point, I'm monitoring several things: my stop losses, where they are, and my margin usage. Based on how I trade, the thing that I notice tends to be at risk and is my margin usage. So I would add to my winning trades, and as a result, my margin would be used up. So I tend to want to monitor that to make sure that I'm within a maximum range, and to also stay in line with the rules, the prop firm that I'm currently using, which is funded next. Otherwise, that's it. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're having a great trading week, and I'm wishing you the best. I hope you continue trading, you continue working hard, you continue um, consistently showing up and consistently trying to do what is right in as far as your trading is concerned. I hope you try out these methods, and if you have your own methods that you found work better for you compared to the ones that I'm showing, please comment them down below. And I hope to be back pretty soon in as far as making videos, because I'm feeling my cold is getting better. So I'll be jumping back soon, and I have a series of videos that I need to be creating. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching, and cheers.